Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. 9 o'clock location, we have NrG.ostojiy. 3 o'clock location, we have Skew as the blue terran. This is on Metalopolis, and I am back, coming out of retirement. Saw that Mole Trap was coming out of retirement, saw that Rise was coming out of retirement, and I just couldn't resist. I had too much free time on my hands anyway, so I'm here for you guys, for the community. Love you all. I'm back. And I know it was a long hiatus, and just to catch you up on what I did, I hung out with my wife and played League of Legends. That's basically what I did in my long hiatus from Starcraft world. Hopefully you enjoy this match. NrG.ostojiy, recent addition to their team. It's actually 6jax is their official sponsor now. Artosis taking over team captain. Special shout out to Never Expo. I assume he's still on the team, but has just gone and kind of shifted it off to Artosis's long held experience. NrG, if you're unfamiliar with them, they've been in the scene forever, and as long as I can remember NrG, and they've been, wow, just a long time. I can remember commentating them in Yankee League 4 years ago. In Brood War, old school days. Maybe some people remember that, but not likely. I'm going to have like 3 guys who are like, I was there, and I'll be like, yeah! Do that fist pump and that point sort of thing. Ostojiy, a recent addition, he's really filled out the lineup well. He's a very strong Zerg player, starting at the 9 o'clock. And you have Skew, aka Skew. And I'm very excited to have him a replay of him, period. And he was actually mentioned in an unfavorable story, actually, on State of the Game. But a lot of players are looking at him, and actually a lot of high-level teams should be keeping an eye on him as well. A fantastic player. I was hoping he would make it into the NASL and be one of those kind of dark horse guys. He's so strong in his play in StarCraft. I'm sure he's going to accelerate right to the top of the ladder, and people are going to be like, who's Skew? Who's this guy Skew? And hopefully he'll get on a sponsored team fairly rapidly. Fantastic guy, amazing player, has really strong mechanics, tends to favor the longer macro sort of style, which Metalopolis will definitely favor that sort of thing. Looks like we do see a fast expand from Ostojiy, the 9 o'clock location. He scouted the 6 o'clock. In the meantime, Skew actually building this barracks to the south, which leads me to believe he is going for a 1 racks into expansion build perhaps as well, and this will definitely favor him at cross positions. I'm not sure if this is played on MLG Metalopolis or just standard Metalopolis. I assume it's just a ladder match, so, and not just a prearranged thing because of the chatter right at the beginning. Looks like we have an orbital command center upgrading now, and Hatchery just working its way through. Looks like that initial SCV scouting 6 o'clock location, finding absolutely nothing. Ostojiy wandering up and seeing, hey, okay, looks like we've got a good scout inside the base, and it looks like the Marines are being pumped out, and actually forwarded here to this Mink statue early. So it is a possibility that we will see an attempt at a proxy racks, and this SCV actually wandering all the way back home, still without the scouting information, spawning pool on the front door. And this is actually, I gotta say, it's a little bit bad play from Skew early, not getting that scouting information out. He still has no idea where his opponent is, but it looks like he's going to back out and expand nevertheless. With 3 Marines on the front door, might be able to pick off that drone. Looks like that drone just kind of mocking him with that mineral in hand. Look at me, I have mind, and push forward efficiently. In the meantime, knowing the distances and knowing he can just get a couple lings, and actually with an extremely exposed, well, no longer exposed natural expansion, these Marines actually need to be somewhat careful as soon as Zergling speed kicks in. Skew actually spreading his Marines out a little bit. He needs to actually gather them up a bit, because the 2 Marines, if there are like 6 Marines out in the field, and it looks like there actually are plenty of Marines out in the field, Ostojiy seeing how wide that natural expansion is and seeing how few Marines there were to start out on the front, so he's going to press forward, pressure this, and try to set Skew back, which might be successful. He's playing very risky at this point, especially look at this, 3 Marines right here, that would easily die to the 8, and the 2 running up to clean up would not help at all. For whatever reason, he's attacking his own barracks, perhaps just in I think he might have actually sealed his own front door off instead of canceling. Oh, that's got to be a mistake. Wow, and as I'm singing his praises, he's already knocked down a lot of health on his own barracks. It's to taunt the enemy, to go, ha ha ha, look, my barracks is already weak in health. Go ahead and deal with it, sucker. A couple Zerglings running up to harass that natural. That is going to cut off a little bit of health there, and perhaps it's just too much typing. Finally, the SCV moving out just to get absolutely annihilated by those Zerglings. See 2 Queens on the front, so Ostojiy still playing very successfully, has effectively put Skew entirely in the dark. Skew very, very vulnerable at this stage, has no idea what he's going up against, and as a result is going to plant 2 bunkers just because he just feels very, very vulnerable. And his actual fears have been realized. 16 Zerglings out in the field, and Skew is shelling up hard. You can see just that nice wall, 2 bunkers behind it. What Ostojiy should really do to follow this up is just take an expansion. There's no way that Skew's really going to be able to apply pressure anytime soon behind this very thick wall. He's only got 6 Marines and not a lot coming at this stage. He has plenty of Zergling to deal with this. Could probably even get a Baneling nest in not too long. So as long as he pushes that economy, he'll be rolling A-OK. In the meantime, Ostojiy is way up up on harvesters. He can continue to pump drones without too much fear. In fact, he is doing so. He's already up at 7 and is actually placing a spine crawler, which I feel like is a little bit overcautious at this stage. Granted, he can't see what's up here in this corner, but seeing those two bunkers up on the front, it's just a handful of Marines. Otherwise, he has to feel somewhat safe and know that there's not this huge timing push coming at him. In the meantime, looks like Skew has gone to Siege Tank, is halfway finished with the Siege Tech, and First Tank going to move out just to provide additional defense. And he's definitely playing this like a Brood War player. This is his style of play. Shell up, out macro the opponent, and then push out when you feel comfortable, like you've got that. And again, you'll see him do this time and time again. Just go for that slow play effect. Try to position his troops as carefully as he can. Get a couple pick-offs while your opponent is not really in a good position, like we'll see right here with the Siege Tank splattering these Zerglings, and hopefully we'll see that momentarily. In the meantime, as far as just the flat income goes, looks like the Harvester count has moved in favor of Skew. Tank starting to siege up. ostojiy might be aware of it. There's positioning Zerglings around, but they are not out of range. They are going to get splattered. Already a single Zergling, several others taking damage, running the wrong direction. Oh, wow. Man, one on fire, like, ah! A flea finally pulling off. Standard Skew. Third base is now up for ostojiy, and I actually feel like he's got plenty of territory to work with. Only a single Siege Tank, 7 Marines. Granted, he doesn't know what he's up against at this stage. But this is a very, with the Marines escorting these Siege Tanks, this is still a very kind of careful attack force, and ostojiy I still feel like should be in a position where he can press out. And if there's one thing I have to criticize Skew for, is he's not doing any harassment whatsoever, and as a result, ostojiy can just pump the Harvesters, which he is doing up to 57, continue to pump out another 5, also getting Aspire up. Looks like a Thor is on the way to provide some anti-air defense against those Mutalisks. And ostojiy, yeah, honestly, I think he'd even take his gold expansion here, although he doesn't have a lot out in the field to help deal with against those Marines, tanks, the Marines and tanks once they start getting moving. It's already saturating that third base, going to take a solid economic lead as a result of that. Unfortunately, Mules can only do so much, but 3 barracks being planted on the front door. Looks like 2 tech labs, so we're going to see a big Marauder swing. And this is, again, very standard Skew. The nice kind of Sim City on his front door, pressing out very cautiously, very carefully, not making any mistakes, and really using that strong positional play. In fact, I would say if there's any player, Brood War or otherwise, that I've seen with stronger position, maybe G5, but otherwise, Skew is just an absolute expert with positional plays like this. Although, now that I think of it, G5 had some trouble, and that's another person you guys are probably unfamiliar with, so never mind. I guess this is the old school reference guy. In fact, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people, who's Diggity in this replay? 2 additional factories to go stronger mech, but it looks like the Mutalisks are going to scout it, getting 2 additional tech labs, and that Thor not in position to defend quite yet. Looks like he's going to lose some additional SCVs. Mutalisks doing some nice damage. ostojiy backing off, has already had success with these Mutalisks, has slowed the economy down, has seen everything he wanted to see as far as that tech goes out. And let's see if he expands again. Usually when you see this slow mech style, looks like he's getting a Roach Warren to get that big Roach heavy upgraded army to deal with it. But usually what you want to do is just have a superior economy out in the field, or a more mobile force. And the Mutalisks, the Muta-Roach approach. Wow, that's kind of weird to say. Muta-Roach approach. Oh, vulnerable Siege Tank. That Siege Tank definitely going to get picked off. Oh, so Skew loses a free Siege Tank on the front. 1 Mutalisk in exchange, but definitely worth it. Still harassing the front and using a nice position against these Marines. Taking out an SCV, which isn't going to... actually didn't delay that command center too much. Bully wasn't the one building. Finally, combat shield and stem upgrade coming actually very late for Skew to deal against these Mutalisks, but they're just going to back off, feeling very comfortable in basically the position they put Skew. Skew's still locked to the defense. Looks like ostojiy finally taking his gold expansion, which I felt he could have done earlier, but he wanted probably wait on that Baneling nest, have Banelings out in the field just in case there was some sort of push. Skew rolling, but unfortunately 81 Harvesters. ostojiy can just sit on the economy he already has and feel comfortable all the way to the late game. All he needs to do is make sure he keeps expanding, so now he can start filling out that army. And it looks like 126 supply to 109. Skew in a defensive shell, I would say, he's behind the position he wants to be in to really steal this match. And this is one criticism I'm going to have of ostojiy, is he's not contested. Even though he has map control, even though he's expanding all over the place, he could still afford to contest this third base a little bit, and it looks like he's not in fact doing so. Instead, the Mutalisks kind of testing this back edge. A lot of idle SCVs for Skew. Looks like he's somewhat out of practice, as much as I was singing his praise earlier. Some Zerglings now approaching, but unfortunately already several Siege Tanks, 7 Marines, and a Thor to engage them once they arrive. SCV starting to move out. They're not in position to engage, it looks like, on that lower corner, so it is possible this will be delayed even further. But no, the SCV line, very vulnerable, so several of them going to get taken out and actually eaten by, it almost looked like Siege Tank hits from that low corner. And now they're going to evacuate, but ostojiy has done damage. He has slowed this economy down. He's well on his way to 200. I think he might even have superior upgrades once this comes rolling out. Looks like he does have level 1 weapons and armor on his roaches, and that'll be key against these Thors and these siege tanks as their upgrades are rolling out. Looks like level 2 infantry weapons, though, are upgrading for Skew. He's going to have a marine backpadding, perhaps, to deal with these Mutalisks. But looking at the current unit composition, you can see 13 roaches, 4 queens, 19 zerglings, still no banelings. And this is actually, if I was going to criticize ostojiy for anything, where he's played a brilliant game thus far, is he's playing very risky right here at this stage. There is a sizable attack force that Skew could move out with, and currently he has no banelings and probably, I would say, not enough roaches to really repel that attack if Skew just moved out. But Skew playing it extremely carefully, just building a considerable army before he makes any sort of maneuver. ostojiy now taking that 12 o'clock base, playing very greedy at this stage, and honestly, he doesn't need a stronger economy. He's gotten a little bit ahead of himself on harvesters. 92 harvesters. Wow, 92. He actually might want to back that off again, and actually taking the 6 o'clock base as well, which again would be necessary against a strong mech play, but because he's expanding rather than building this troop count, Skew might have an opportunity once he hits max, or once he hits that comfortable unit count that he's looking for, to press out and perhaps hit ostojiy before he's really in a position to deal with it. And ostojiy getting pretty greedy here. Looks like he's also getting a greater spire, building some corruptors, and he's thinking about switching to big air and just using, it looks like, some banelings, some zerglings, some roaches to hold back Skew in the meantime. So this is going to be a very critical and very dangerous timing for him. However, if he is able to transition rapidly into that big air, he will have a lot of success versus Skew. In the meantime, Skew, this is what I'm talking about. I leave him alone for a second, and all of a sudden he has a ridiculous amount of troops, a ton of infrastructure. He's a macro beast, and look at all those siege tanks. Wow. Siege tanks and Thors. The Marines, a little bit of a mistake there, leaving the Marines behind. It's going to slow his army down, having to regroup with them. But there are plenty of banelings. It looks like a lot of roaches. ostojiy now starting to get on board and get that army troop out. He is down as far as just flat unit count, and that does count considering he has 97 harvesters. Keep in mind, that might have even grown. Actually, 91 harvesters at this stage. I take it back. But this gold expansion going to get wiped out. ostojiy should just actually pull these drones out and bring them to another one of the several bases that he hasn't saturated. It looks like ostojiy waiting for prime position when these Marines are perfectly exposed. Queen getting annihilated there on their front door, and instead he's just going to give it up, back off. That's actually probably the best decision. Just wait for brood lords, which are morphing in the background. This could be the difference in this engagement. Skew, wow, went from a favorable situation to perhaps an unfavorable situation. Those siege tanks in the background with those broodlings on top of the zerglings at the close slot, they could do a lot of self damage, like I was saying right there. Yeah, the Marines getting annihilated by their own siege tanks. The brood lords moving forward, need to be too careful not to overextend without too much protection. No banelings to protect. It looks like the brood lords are going to get picked off of that forward slot. Some Mutalisks trying to dive in. The siege tanks actually backing off, so many to the north, and actually protecting that lower hinge. The Thor still pressing forward, trying to deal with these brood lords. They keep in mind he doesn't have spotting up to the north. That Thor has been taken out. Still more Marines diving down. Looks like they are going to be able to clean up that brood lord force that's pinned in between. They unfortunately not backing off, and ostojiy really having difficulty positioning himself in between these two bases. Still some Hellions rolling through. It looks like they are no anti-air left though from Skew. So he is going to end up losing this fight, and it looks like there's still plenty of Mutalisks to dive in. And now the problem for Skew is he just lost all of a very expensive, very large mech army. It's going to take him a long period of time to rebuild that. And in the meantime, ostojiy should be able to fill up that supply very, very rapidly, and actually maybe even do that transition to air he was looking for. Still at 82 harvesters, he doesn't need to refill that at all. Looks like he I might have missed actually something, perhaps a cancellation or destruction here at the 6 o'clock location. I thought he took that much earlier. Perhaps I missed that. Actually, I can rewind, can't I? I will pause, go back. Was there a base there? Was there a base there? No, there was no base there at any given point. So ignore me continuing the match. Frames catch up. Looks like we're going to get to see the rest of this attack fight. Go ×2. All the fun stuff happening up here. Actually, this will give me a nice opportunity to highlight. Look at this right here from ostojiy. This is really what hurt him right here. You can move these broodlords back here. There again, no high ground spotting. These banelings, these roaches could have camped this low ground at kind of this slot. Nothing would have been able to run up and deal with it. Looks like still nothing was able to run up and deal with it. But with 6 health with this broodlord left. Now the Mutalisks charging in, going to clean up the rest of these siege tanks, and this is just devastation to Skew. Absolute devastation. Still locked at the 6 o'clock base. Looks like there was a bit of a skirmish here. Several drones taken out, and probably all because of that mighty SCV. So I did miss a little bit of an attack there, but not much otherwise. Now the Roaches and the Banelings starting to stage to the forward position. Looks like another Broodlord coming in play. And now the question is, are we going to see a lot of Corruptors? Are we going to see more Roach fill? What are we going to see? Skew also in desperate situation. His main almost mined out. His natural expansion looking very thin. In that bottom right-hand base, the 5 o'clock location is basically his only mining kind of sector. And it's very separated from the bulk of his production right here. Although this is kind of an interesting SimCity build out on the front door. Still has a couple Vikings. He realizes Broodlords are a factor now, but he's going to have a larger economy. It looks like Ground Carapace 3, high upgrades as well for {ostojiy, and he's just starting to flood the troops out. Skew has to shell up while he still needs to be pressing forward and attacking. 12 o'clock base being rebuilt. Looks like the gold expansion as well. And I think that's the other thing I miss is the siege tank taking out these bases to the north. Anyway, looks like the Roach is starting to gather up. They're thinking about doing a just pummeling attack. I'm not sure why they're all gathering into this base at the moment. Perhaps to hide themselves. But there's really good creep spread as far as a lane to the south. Looks like Skew moving forward, wants to take this gold expansion, realizes he needs to do something somewhat risky to take that. I like the Overlord spread to watch drop ships in the meantime, knowing that Skew's behind in this match. He's just checking everything, and the Mutalisk diving in, catching siege tanks from behind, not able to pick any off, but still able to do a little bit of damage. The Marines stim packing, trying to charge forward, but charging maybe too far forward. Baneling's not in the front to really make them pay for it. Now the siege tank trying to move up. And that is so many Marines on the front door. They will do very well, but the Banelings, oh my goodness, melting that front line. Still siege tanks now sieging up from behind. And it looks like the Roaches are charging SCVs coming on. The Roaches are pinned, but keep in mind these are troops that {ostojiy can afford to lose. He's going to wean out that SCV line that Skew needs to preserve. And again, he can just sacrificially work against all of those SCVs. They've been completely annihilated, but the Marines charging forward. The SCV, oh wow, the Roach is burrowing, just hiding in that line. That's going to force Skew to wait for a comsat before he can deal with the rest of them. And additionally, that is a mule, which he is not going to be able to use on pure economy. Kind of waiting for it here in the meantime. He's now pressing forward, just going to try to hunt what he can. The 6 o'clock base, extremely vulnerable for {ostojiy at this stage. Looks like the Broodlord's going to get taken out. Still no comsat. Looks like the Marines actually going to run forward. And {ostojiy saying, like, what the hell? I thought I had this game won. Calling the WTF. A little bit worried about the circumstances. And it looks like Skew very intelligently not bothering to worry about this Roach harass, just emptying it and instead taking what he has, going to the gold expansion. Although I don't know that he has a lot of SCVs to his name. Still taking out that 6 o'clock base, really limiting {ostojiy economy, considering how powerful it was. 74 harvesters now remaining. The Roaches have managed to escape, still harassing here. There's the comsat. Wow, brilliant dodge. A turret going up here in the corner. Skew out of position once again. That turret could easily be sniped, opening up that Roach harass. Another big attack. Banelings forward. Mutalisks. Oh, actually bad approach. Looks like the Banelings running into the wall that is a siege tank shell. The wall that comes from above. Finally, an unburrow from {ostojiy on this bottom right-hand base. But still, a lot of SCVs being annihilated. Level 3 Carapace, odd level 3 Carapace instead of having any sort of a... Well, actually, never mind. That makes sense. These are Roaches, not Zerglings. But they're getting cleaned up very, very easily. 6 o'clock base has been cleared out. Skew can actually now maybe close off this gap and be in a good position, perhaps take map control again. But he still has to worry about {ostojiy superior economy. Zerglings charging forward, easily going to be able to... Well, maybe not easily. Okay, finally, taking out those siege tanks lasted a little bit longer than I thought it would. But now they are pinned in by Marines and Medivacs. Let's see if they but Banelings there to clean up this Marine force, and it looks like they are so many Marines flooding forward to just get annihilated. But beautiful. I almost want to call that coincidental positioning from Skew. In a much better position to deal. It looks like Skew in a desperate enough situation where he's lifting off his main command center and actually floated that out to this gold expansion. Want to point that out. That's how low on resources he is. {ostojiy now taking that 12 o'clock base is still running fairly strong as far as his economy goes. Just to bring up the economy tab, still at 80 harvesters, but Skew is actually taking a big economic leap because of both mules and saturating this gold base. So he is okay at least for the short term, but more Broodlords, more Zerglings charging forward. {ostojiy with not a lot of troops on the ground, because he's transitioning to Ultralisks at this stage to try to cope with this attack. And 3 Ultralisks in production, 7 Roaches, and this is allowing Skew to press forward and stage positions on the south. This will open up the 6 o'clock main. So {ostojiy making, actually, I would say, a lot of mistakes as far as the map control portion of this match goes, and that gold expansion going to be evacuated, and all of a sudden, {ostojiy might be in some economic damage. Skew charging forward, easily going to be able to take out this gold base. It looks like he's going to send a counterattack of Zerglings across to this gold, and this could hurt Skew a lot. He needs to get something in. He does have Marines nearby, but he needs to get there before he loses all of his SCVs. Looks like some Marines in there to provide some defense, grouping up defending, and he's going to counterattack directly into {ostojiy natural expansion. There are some, Banelings, Mutalisks, Ultralisks, a lot of stuff to deal with, and oh my goodness, green ooze everywhere, destroying all of the marine padding on the front door, but the Ultralisks also rapidly taken off. The medevacs need to evacuate. Looks like plenty of Mutalisks to provide some defense. But the Broodlords not able to chew through the Vikings enough, and they are now vulnerable and open, being damaged. Nice transfusion from that Queen to save it, try to keep it alive, and beautiful walking transfusions by ostojiy. Looks like some Roaches going to press this advantage, try to attack, but they don't have Banelings now, and those Marines with Stimpack are going to chew through them fairly rapidly. Roaches trying to back up. I'm still wondering where these medevacs were in retreat. Looks like they're going to move all the way to 6 o'clock when they need to be here at the natural. Burrowing, want to run up, stop these mules from producing 4 Skew. Skew needs those mules to stay alive to keep this economy going. The Roaches unburrowing, going to take care of what is left. Skew pressing forward with some more Marines, some more Siege Tanks, doing a very good job of keeping up with his macro. There's the comp set. The Roaches trying to flee. They are pinned in, however, and it looks like they are going to get taken out. Still trying to retreat. Wow, escaping the comp set steal, and still Skew with no Raven to provide some additional detection. Looks like he is not going to get in time to deal with this planetary fortress, and now these Roaches pinned in to the detection wall of these turrets. Couple Zerglings here in the background, and the game has suddenly switched around. ostojiy might get pinned out of the 6 o'clock base. He needs to get his economy up and rolling again. He's actually down near the 1,000 mark, where he still has 75 harvesters and still 2 bases to roll off of, and it looks like he's actually still rolling strong. I take that back. Looks like some Marines getting killed as well. Oh, wow, a ton of Banelings, a ton of Ultralisks. Skew still has his work cut out for him. Looks like pressing up. Nice engagement point for him there. Not enough Siege Tanks up on the high ground. Retreating those Marines. The Marines actually do an efficient job of retreating, but the Siege Tanks get annihilated in the meantime. There's still Banelings to spare, and Skew is most certainly going to end up losing this goal expansion. I take it back, never mind. Let's see if he regathers. It looks like just, again, Skew getting some lucky positioning. The Broodlords running headlong into the Vikings, and it looks like the Ultralisks just trying to deal with too much without the Baneling support and blowing up on a single Marine rather than groups of Marines. More Zerglings running up to support, but with the high upgrades on these Marines, level 3 weapons, level 1 armor, as well as those medevacs up ahead, they're in a much better position to deal with these Zerglings on the ground. So Skew is going to hold this gold base against all odds. Mutalisks continuing to dive around there, and finally ostojiy is forced to retreat. Still ahead as far as flat supply count goes, and I love that he's creeping this 6 o'clock main to deny Skew that expansion, but Skew just showing persistent macro management, continuing to have plenty of Marines, plenty of Siege Tanks out on this front door. More Banelings up for ostojiy to engage this. Looking at the flat unit production count, looks like he has 9 unit count, 9 Banelings, 8 Mules, 3 Ultralisks to deal with 42 Marines, 3 Siege Tanks, 3 Vikings, and right now I think he could actually do with less medevacs. He has 9 medevacs out in the field. I guess 42 Marines, 9 medevacs might be worthwhile. Gonna see if he can engage. No Siege Tanks to deal with those Banelings, unfortunately, and it looks like the Banelings rolling forward, but not catching anything. Nice micromanagement from Skew. The Ultra still wreaking havoc near that orbital command. Somehow those Marauders lasting forever against these Ultralisks in the back corner, despite the 5 armor, and it looks like it might have just been a lucky lag spike from ostojiy that kept Skew in that fight. Looks like he's building a command center off center and pressing forward with some missile turrets to try to get that Overlord out without committing anything to ostojiy retaking his gold expansion finally, and that is perhaps long in coming. But Skew desperately clinging on with what I'm going to call an amazing defense. Absolutely incredible defense. Still behind in supply. Actually, never mind. He just took the supply lead in this match, and that shows you what having that gold expansion for a long time, but he's not out of the woods yet. 1,800 mineral intake currently, as well as significantly 700 gas, has shifted into ostojiy's favor now that he's got those bases running. Now he needs to engage properly and moving up some Banelings, able to whittle a lot of it, but Skew doing a fantastic job of splitting a lot of those troops to the south and leaving those Siege Tanks up above, and as a result ostojiy is getting strung out, chasing those Marines down, and beautiful loot positioning there by Skew, and able to take out that force. And it looks like some more Zerglings diving in. Looks like they have found a hole in the 6 o'clock, but there is a planetary fortress there. This command center, not a planetary fortress yet, easily going to be able to take care of the turrets. Maybe take out the command center before it finishes. That command center very close to finishing. Is it going to finish, and will it be able to lift up? Okay, it does finish, does lift up, and plenty of Marines moving in. Let's see if there's another attack of Zerglings now at that gold expansion. Keep an eye out in the mini-map. Now that command center moving into position, a little bit damaged. The Zerglings still trying to provide a bit of harass and escape. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to do so, though. And never mind, I take it back. There's a planetary fortress there waiting for them, trying to do what damage they can as they kind of scoot around. The rest of them pin in. We're trying to make Banelings, but that's not going to happen. They are going to be able to take out a turret, so not null and void, but as far as the econ war goes, ostojiy is back on top. Gold expansion, which is keeping Skew in the match up to the stage, is almost out, although Skew has retaken the 6 o'clock base. But he needs to get a move on. He needs to press forward. He needs to do some damage if he's going to win this match. He can't let Ostojiy sit on the supply and the current economy that he has. Although Ostojiy down, it looks like he's going to re-engage the Banelings out of position, backing off with the Ultralisks. Really nice movement here by Skew. And now he needs to... it's almost weird because he's got the slow crawl with Terran, but he needs to hurry his butt up if he's going to stay in this, bringing up the unit tab. 56 Marines, 11 siege tanks, going up against 6 Ultralisks, 6 Roaches, and 17 Banelings. Big engagement here. Will the Banelings get there? Looks like the Banelings mostly expending themselves on the siege tanks, so plenty of Marauders and Marines to deal with the Ultralisks perhaps underneath, but that is a lot of Ultralisks. Looks like they're going to stim pack and just walk their way back. The Ultralisks having to evacuate just because too many medevacs, too many Marines, and too many Marauders to cope with that attack. So I would still call it a victory for Ostojiy, because as long as he he still needs to actually penetrate, because things have kind of flipped. Because now that Skew has this 6 o'clock isolated, as long as he can stay alive over the long run, he will end up winning this match. I'd say almost the factor maybe who can gather up a 200 army to begin with. Looks like more oh wow, catching up before the tanks are siege. Banelings morphing, catching a lot of Marines that time, but the Ultralisks very weak. Looks like they're going to be dispatched. Not a lot of defense left for Ostojiy. Let's see a couple Roaches comsat. The Roaches should be able to escape. Zerglings providing some defense. In the meantime, the Vikings just kind of hovering overhead, not providing a lot of defense. Beautiful micro by Skew, just stim packing, really microing those Marines well. And the medevacs providing plenty of heating overhead, but he has once again repelled Skew's advances, and it's almost a stalemate along the 6 o'clock line. And whoever wins this fist fight is going to end up probably taking the match. Really, the key thing is taking out this gold expansion for Skew. If he can take out or at least deny that base, he'll be in a good position. But losing position here at the 6 o'clock, is that a planetary fortress? It is not a planetary fortress. Zergling is able to run into the lines, disrupt Skew's mining time. He needs to hurry up and take care of those ninja Zerglings before it is too late. Looks like they're going to regather and try to run around and be harassing as possible. That'll buy time for him to get that economy rolling. In the meantime, he's also denying any sort of economy here at the 6 o'clock base for Skew. Zerglings now finally being pinned in that corner. That command center being redropped, and Ostojiy doing a fantastic job of positioning here. Now the SCV is going to resaturate. But in the meantime, Banelings and Zerglings regathering, some more Ultralisks in production, 5 to be specific. There's already, it looks like several, actually just a handful of Roaches, 56 Zerglings. And that is going to be a ton of Banelings here in a second. Maybe if Skew can move and catch them in open field, that'll be beneficial for him. But currently, he is in dire straits if he allows all of those now 64 Zerglings. Even half of that becomes Banelings. He's going to be in a scary situation. I'll leave the, it looks, just 6 Banelings, tons of Ultras, so it's just going to be Ultra Baneling to pound through this. And that is going to be very, very difficult to deal with, especially for such a slow-moving army. Maybe if he can actually load up in these medevacs, use them as dropships, and maybe drop that hive, get some... nice! Wow, I'm a genius. Perfect timing for that sort of thing. There, it looks like there are some corruptors in production to provide some latent defense, but I don't know... It looks like they are actually being produced at the hive. These guys are psychic with one another, and there's plenty of overlords to see this drop in coming, but that will still pen Ostojiy back. But this is a really scary attack for us, honestly, and I don't think this is something that Skew wants to engage. Heads up. Dropships moving in. Let's see how this army responds with their backs up, and that actually might provide some timing for Skew to move up and maybe take some forward positioning. It looks like he is going to have a little bit of timing. It looks like he's trying to focus that Roach Cavern, not having success doing so, backing up. The Ultralisks are there to take some damage. It doesn't look like he's pushing forward and taking position here in the meantime. That's cleaned up very rapidly by Ostojiy. He's at 182 supply and has some Corruptors hunting down that medevac now in open air. And those Corruptors, if they can go to work on those medevacs, that'll really, really nerf Skew's army. They're not going to be the rechargeable force. Another counterattack moving up to the north. Looks like a siege tank. I can't even tell. Okay, there they are to the south, just eating those Zerglings alive. But another group moving up. All of those Zerglings, all of those siege, Ultralisks, the siege tank of Zerg. And still 19 Banelings. I expected more at this stage, perhaps just waiting on the gas to come in. Planetary Fortress actually being morphed from Skew. He didn't even want to deal with it, and that's gonna be difficult to deal with, actually, just the straight Planetary Fortress. And Ostojiy is just gonna flat out engage it. He actually needs to move the Banelings around to deal with just the SCV's pure, the SCV's group preparing, and it looks like this army gonna get pinned in. Big mistake from Ostojiy, and this could be the mistake that defines the match. Ostojiy gonna lose all of his Ultralisks, all of his Banelings, and leave Skew with a gigantic standing army. And still not taking anything out. Ultra's still, and it looks like some Broodlords as well, but there are Marines to charge forward and do some damage. Will the Planetary Fortress be taken out? It does not look like it. And, oh man, Baneling's vulnerable against these Vikings, against all these Marines. Skew just diving forward, taking everything out. Ostojiy does not have an army right now standing. Skew is free to press forward in this map. Might be able to repair. He did lose a lot of Harvesters in the meantime, just down to 32. Still has Mules to work with the rest of the economy, but he needs to counterattack, and he needs to counterattack hard before Ostojiy can rebuild that attack force. Currently, ostojiy rolling. It looks like 16 banelings still getting 2 ultralisks out in the field. More zerglings charging forward, and this is going to be a huge engagement. Gigantic Terran Deathball moving forward. Ultralisks and banelings moving back, trying to buy time. I think you might even want to... Oh, Spinecrawlers moving forward. Diving in, Zerglings on the front, Banelings right there, going to explode on a lot of that forward army. Ultralisks pushing in as well, but plenty of Siege Tanks, not even Siege, just chewing through a lot of this Ultralisk force. Looks like the Spinecrawlers are planting, but they're not lasting very long at all, and now plenty of Siege Tanks with a handful of Marines left over. They're continuing to charge forward. Skew looking in great position to take out this gold expansion, maybe roll through this. Maligning his bad micromanagement here. And it looks like it didn't get stim packs in that last fight. Ultralisk going to try to chew through. They want to get something done, but getting pinned by the Marine Force, not even attacking. Finally turning around, attacking. No medevacs overhead. Banelings there as well to clean things up. Gold expansion down, and this is turning into a crazy match. Looks like the Baneling rolling up, just wiping out 7 Marines. Queen also at the forward position going to get taken out. 12 o'clock base, wow, way oversaturated. 3 lines of drones here, mining all over the place. Skew just going to go for an attack right into this main... Oh, Banelings morphing in, though. In just a moment, let's see if they can attack forward and clear out this attack force. Siege Tanks getting wiped out, and it looks like there's still some Marines standing, still 2 Siege Tanks standing for Skew. Skew's gotten his economy rolling again. That might be it for ostojiy. He's still flaming lag. Calling GG, realizes he can't hold back the tide. Skew ends up winning. Great match. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Out of retirement, spread the word. Thank you guys for listening, and for all the hardcore fans that were hoping for my return. It's good spring. Yeah, happy April. Thanks for listening, guys.